Alright guys, so here's the first impressions of the San Martin SN0144. So this is a really impressive watch, the latest from San Martin. You've probably seen it mentioned on a few other channels already. I actually featured it in the San Martin video I did recently, talking about my 10 favourite San Martin watches I've checked out so far. I'll leave a link to that up in the top if you haven't seen it, and also down in the description as well. So apologies if you can hear any fireworks going off in the background here. They're probably going to be coming up every now and then, because it is actually 5th of November, which here in the UK is Guy Fawkes Night or Bonfire Night. So you might not be aware, but they have actually released 2 different sizes of this now. So the one I've got is the 39mm version, which is what came out initially, but they've now added a 36 and also a 42. So I think with those 3 different sizes, that should cater for everyone. So there's quite a few interesting things with this one. First off, we're going to quickly show you the bracelet, because I do really like this. The tolerances on it are fantastic. There's barely any gap between anything at all. And you can see it's got a really interesting design as well. That centre section with those links is actually raised above. And then we've got a really nice polished chamfer on all of those edges as well. So no sharp edges on this whatsoever. And it just looks really good too. Otherwise it's a fully brushed bracelet, again, as I say, just with polished chamfers. It does have a male end link, but it does drop down pretty much in line with the case. So it doesn't really affect the lug to lug that much. It still wears really nicely on wrist. Another slight difference is when it comes to this clasp. So you might think it's the same as the on-the-fly adjustable clasp San Martin had before, but they have actually changed the design on this slightly. So you can see we haven't got that button there anymore. So instead, it's just pull this bit down, and then it slides back and forth really easily, which makes it a little bit easier to quickly adjust it, I think. And so far, I've not had any problems with it. But now, let's move on to the head of the watch and talk about that in a bit more detail. And we've got the continuation of the brushing on most of the case, just with those polished chamfer details again. So they run across the whole of the watch, the case, bracelet and clasp, just tying it all together nicely. Oh, just thought, I forgot to show you the case back on this, because it's actually different from most San Martins that we've had recently, which have just been plain case backs. This one we've actually got a really nice design on it. So it's got those Chinese symbols on there, which is reminiscent of stuff you get on Chinese pottery. So they actually talk about this on the listing, so check out the link in the description if you do want to see any more details on that. But it's nice to see them embracing their Chinese roots, because this is definitely a watch they can be proud of. And then that design inspiration carries on to the dial as well, so let's take a look at that. And it is a really beautiful dial, I think. So it's an enamel dial, but it's actually made to look like it's porcelain. Again, inspired by some Chinese porcelain. So it's quite subtle. Some angles you might not see it in lighting conditions, but if I get a zoom in, you'll probably see it in a bit more detail then. So you can definitely see where that inspiration is coming from, and again, they talk about that on the listing as well. And another thing I really like with this is the fact that we've got a colour match date window as well. So you'll get that on every dial colour you go for. And it's also nice to have it down at the 6 for me personally. And then we've got those applied indices, and we've also got that truncated one down at the 6 as well. So another great thing with this watch is the movement. We've not got an NH35 anymore. They've now upgraded to the Miyota 9015. So that's a high beat movement. I did actually say in that San Martin top 10 video that it was the first time they've used this, but I was actually corrected. Someone in the comments mentioned that they have actually used it on a couple of the watches before, but they're not as well known as most of the other ones, so I missed those 2. They aren't 2 that I'd reviewed or even seen, but it is nice to see them using it again. And one of the other benefits of that, as well as being high beat, is that we can keep that case thickness down a bit as well, and take advantage of that slimmer movement. So even though this is my first impressions video, not a full review, I'm saying it already, this is San Martin's best watch so far. It's taken them to a whole other level, so they're now able to compete with micro brands and even some of the bigger brands as well. But let me know down in the comments, do you agree? Or am I talking rubbish? Am I missing some obvious flaws with this? If you do agree with me though, don't forget, use the link down in the description. That will help support the channel, but you don't pay any extra. And I'll try and get the full review done pretty soon. But that's it for this one guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.